first thing I want to get into this week is talking about the Boston Red Sox. Nothing really noteworthy has happened over the last week. The only thing that I can say that the Red Sox have done since free agency opened, upon other than of course losing a few players and signing a few players that I've already talked about on this channel, Justin Turner or whoever it may be. They just recently did sign Corey Kluber to a 1-year, $10 million contract and a club option for 2024. But other than that, nothing really of note has gone on for the Red Sox. So I kind of want to just talk about where I think the season is going and what I think is going to happen this week. Or not this week, excuse me, but this season with the Red Sox. And that is basically that, just kind of looking up and down the roster for the Red Sox, their season is already done. I mean, their season is already completely broken at this point. I don't really have much hope as a Red Sox fan going into this year, and I don't really know a single Red Sox fan that does have any kind of hope going into this year. I don't consider myself one of those baseball fans or Red Sox fans or whatever that is just completely unrealistic with my expectations, right? And I don't feel like I'm that way with really any of my sports teams. I feel like, I have a pretty good pulse as to where I think the team is going to be. I thought that the Patriots were going to be a little bit better than they were this year, and the only reason is just because I didn't anticipate the absolute catastrophe that has been the offensive coordinator situation this year that has really, I think, held the team back a little bit more than what I anticipated. But then, obviously with the Celtics, I figured they'd be, maybe not the best team in basketball, but obviously up there this year. So I feel like I had a pretty good pulse on what's going on. And last year, I did not think the Red Sox are going to be very good, and it turned out to be correct. And this year, I don't think they're going to be very good at all either, and quite frankly, I actually think that they're going to be worse. And I know that that's not really necessarily a surprise to a lot of you, especially those who have watched and paid attention to what's happened this offseason for the Red Sox. But yeah, obviously the Red Sox are not going to be very good, and there's many, many reasons for that. Basically, everybody that has been there, that has been consistent and has been good performers over the last 4 years, ever since our World Series team, is gone now. The only guys that are still there that were consistent performers on that World Series championship team is Rafael Devers. He's the only one that's left. Everybody else is gone. Uvalde's gone. Betts is gone. Bogarts is gone. Martinez is gone. Christian Vasquez is gone. Chris Sale is still there, but he hasn't really pitched in 2 years. So, how great is he going to be when he comes back? And even if he is great, how long is that going to last before he possibly gets hurt again? I mean, I hate to say it because, in a lot of ways, injuries, they're not the player's fault necessarily. It's not something that a player can control. It's not like, I talked about last week with my 2013 NBA draft redraft. Which I got such a positive response from you guys on that. Thank you so much. But I talked about it last week. Anthony Bennett was a complete and utter bust because he was healthy, and he just was very, very bad in the NBA for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Chris Sale, it's not like when he's out there, he's bad. He's still one of the most dominant pitchers in Major League Baseball when he's healthy, but the problem is he's healthy about 5% of the time right now, which is obviously not going to cut it. So how reliable is that guy going to be when he does come back? He's starting to look like one of the worst contracts in baseball right now, which is a shame because Chris Sale is a fantastic pitcher when he can toe the rubber, but he just hasn't been able to toe the rubber recently. And obviously, that's just as useless as going out there and stinking in a lot of ways. I mean, you're just paying somebody to go to physical therapy every single day. It just gets monogamous. It gets tiring. It's just not good. And by the way, I think I said monogamous. I meant to say monotonous. But you know what? We'll just keep that in there just for your guys' laughs. Shows you how tired I am today. But anyways, so Red Sox, their team, it's just not good. Point blank. They don't have anybody that has been consistently performing on that team other than Rafael Devers at this point. And yeah, I also am including Trevor Story in that, guys. And I know that it sucks, and I hate to say it, but the guy hit 220 last year. Yeah, he had some good power, and yeah, he had a stretch where he was, hitting home runs like mad. But Trevor Story seems to have, a point in a season like that every single year. And now he's not going to be at second base. So we're going to see another one of his flaws ever since his injuries in Colorado, which is his lack of arm strength. He just has not had the same arm strength since his arm injuries in Colorado. And that's a well-known fact among baseball people. It's that Trevor Story, people are worried that his arm will not translate to being a full-time shortstop anymore. It's why the Celtics were all right with him playing second base. But now that Bogaerts has departed for San Diego, he is going to now have to be the starting shortstop. He, of course, meaning Trevor Story. So if he's going to want to stay healthy, he's going to have to play great defense and play very well at shortstop, and his arm's going to have to hold up there. And so we're going to see if that really happens this year. But yeah, I mean, the Red Sox season is just completely busted right now as far as I'm concerned. And I tweeted the other day, the Red Sox now have 2 legitimate starters, and those 2 legitimate starters are 2 guys that haven't pitched in 2 years, basically. So, if that's your 2 best and most reliable guys on your team, on your pitching staff, what is your season going to look like? I mean, it's going to be bad. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I just do not see how the Red Sox are going to justify this to their fans at the end of the season. How Shane Bloom can justify putting that product out there. And again, I said there's going to be riots in the streets if Rafael Devers leaves. I genuinely think at this point, if I was Rafael Devers, I'd get the heck out of Boston right now if I was him. I really would, because I don't see it. I really don't see a direction. Now, I know Shane Bloom did a really, really good job running the Rays, but guess what? The Red Sox aren't the Rays. The Red Sox don't have 18 million fantastic pitching prospects just laying around. They don't even have one at this point really laying around in their minor league system. So, for me, Shane Bloom is running the Red Sox like we don't have any money. He's letting all of our stars go. He's not, he's not making moves that have been Red Sox style moves over the last few years. Yeah, he's brought in a couple of decent free agents, which is nice, but a couple of decent free agents aren't going to win you a championship, and you're in Boston. Boston expects success. That's how it has always been since 2004. So maybe not always, but since 2004, Red Sox fans expect you to be in contention every year. And if you are bad, then you are supposed to bounce back the next year or 2 years later at the very latest. And if it gets to the point where you're going to be bad as the Red Sox for 3, 4, 5 years, that's just not going to be acceptable at this point. Now, if it makes sense for teams like Oakland, like Kansas City, like Pittsburgh, even like the Rays back when they weren't good. Obviously, they've been good for 5 or 8 years now at this point. But for me, it makes sense if you are a lower budget team for you to have these long periods where you're not very good, because you are waiting for your prospects to develop. And then once all those young guys come up and are on your major league roster and they're producing, then you can make those little productive free agent moves that hopefully will help you win a championship. And then maybe you make a trade or two at the trade deadline, get a nice stud pitcher or something like the Royals did back in 2015 with Johnny Cueto, and hopefully that puts you over the top. But for the Red Sox, they have the luxury of having a large amount of money that they can spend every season that not every team has. And I feel like Shane Bloom is acting like the Red Sox do not have that money. Now, yes, the Red Sox had one of the biggest payrolls in baseball over the last 5 years, and a lot of those contracts were a little bit too hefty. The JD Martinez contract was one of them. Absolutely. Right? This Chris Sale contract was big. The David Price contract back before he was traded was a big contract. But guess what? All those contracts are off the book now. So there are no excuses other than, of course, the Sale contract. He's still there, but just about every other contract is off the table now. You know, Trevor Story's obviously on a big contract. Chris Sale's obviously on a big contract. But other than that, everybody, by Red Sox standards, is not on a very big contract. So, you know, you're going to have the money to re-sign Devers. And again, there's going to be riots in the streets if the Red Sox don't re-sign Devers. But I'm not going to be surprised if they give him, even if they gave him more money to stay than any other team would be giving him to go somewhere else. I wouldn't be shocked if he just went somewhere else, man. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if he just said, all right, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going to go to the Angels or something. Like, I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't. Because the Red Sox don't have a good farm system. They don't have a good major league roster. So that just makes the future really murky. And so I think this season is going to be really, really murky, and it's looking like next season is going to be really, really murky, especially if Devers leaves, because then you let JD Martinez walk in free agency, Uvalde walk in free agency, Xander Bogaerts walk in free agency, you traded away Mookie Betts. Like, everybody that was young and or productive on your team over the last few years is now not on your roster. You did not keep any of them. And quite frankly, I think that they would have traded Chris Sale last year had he stayed healthy. I wouldn't have been shocked if they, especially looking back in hindsight with all the moves that Shane Bloom has made. I wouldn't have been surprised if that had happened. Now, I know that that's obviously just my own craziness, and it probably wouldn't have happened. But, I mean, let's be honest. If it had happened, would you have been shocked at this point? Would you be shocked if tomorrow you woke up and Chris Sale got traded to the Mets for, you know, a brown paper bag and half a peanut shell? I mean, would you? I wouldn't. But nonetheless, you know, I don't have any hope for the Red Sox this year in terms of their record. I don't think they're going to be very good. Now, listen, I didn't think they'd be very good 2 years ago either, and they made the ALCS. So I've been wrong in the past, and I will be wrong in the future for sure. But for me right now, I just really don't see a bright future for the Boston Red Sox. And until I'm proven otherwise, that is the point I'm sticking to. Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.